girlies. How you doing? Hi guys, how you all doing? Not a lot's been happening really down the plot. To be honest, it's that time of year now, we're into November. I mean, things are dying off. There's the kales is the only thing really I've got growing, and a couple of cabbages and some Swiss chard. So that's it really. It's sort of just getting everything ready now for next year. As you know from previous videos, I've mulched now with a load of straw around, covered up a few beds with some plastic and tarpaulin, and generally that's it now. It's mainly looking after my chickens, which is quite nice to come down here and clean them out, give them a feed, and you know, watch the world go by for a bit actually. I've been suffering a bit with my back the last couple of weeks. I'm starting to think it's the cold. I mean, don't get me wrong, any of you in America, you probably think this isn't cold, but it's been about 4 degrees for the last week. There's been a few frosts, so it's been the coldest it's been for a while in the UK, to be honest, because we had a mild winter last winter. It just seems to go straight through to my bones, to be honest. So I didn't play walking football this week. It wasn't worth risking it. And so I've generally tried and been doing a little bit to keep mobile, but not too much. Coming down every other day to feed the chickens, but other than that, it's been a relaxing one really. I was going to talk to you all about chicken keeping, just because I believe that it's not something that you want to take lightly. I'll go into it in more detail, but you know, chickens are a big commitment. But I've had some good news, because on one of the free cycle websites over here, a guy has moved into a house, and the previous owner has left a big dog run, so like a big kennel with a wire run around it, roof and everything, completely predator proof, fox proof. It's the only predators we really get, fox and dogs in the UK. And he wants rid, doesn't want any money for it, and he's basically said I can go there whenever I want, take a little bit down at a time. He says if I need to leave some behind, pile it up in his garden, he's not too fussed because it's the winter and he's not using his garden. He says as long as it's gone by like springtime, which it'll be gone before Christmas, because I really want to get it up. So hopefully in the next month I'll have a nice chicken run, and it'll be more space for the girls. I mean, like I said before, this is probably the most space they've ever had, but it's still too small for me personally. And I'm coming down every other day and I'm letting them out and they're having a quick roam, but I want them to have a nice space where they can scratch more, dust bathe more, and so on and so forth. So that'll be good actually. I'm going to try and start that tomorrow, and just going to spend a couple of hours taking down a couple of the side panels. I think that would probably be all I'll manage for my back, to be honest. and then go up again the weekend. I was hoping to get some help from some family, but all my family seems to be poorly at the moment. My dad's hurt his back. He doesn't have my condition, but he's thrown his back out through work. I don't really ask my granddad anymore, because although he would love to come and help, he's in his 70s now, and his mind thinks that he's younger than he is, and I hate for him to hurt himself, or you know something go wrong while he's helping me do this. So I won't ask him. It's not fair, because he'd feel obliged to come and help out, and I'd never forgive myself if something happened to him. My uncle, he's got a poorly back as well. Again, completely separate thing. So I wouldn't ask him anyway, because again, I don't think it would be fair. And then my father-in-law, who I normally ask for everything, he hasn't been very well either. He's had this like flu-y, sicknessy bug thing, I imagine, that's been going around. So I'm all on my lonesome. I'm not very DIY minded, so it could be an absolute disaster. But I'm sure it's taken out a few screws, and I've borrowed a cordless drill, because I don't own a cordless drill. So that should, well, I would no way I'd be able to unscrew them by hand. I just haven't got the strength. So hopefully, if I do it well, it should be a nice, easy job. And like I said, I can. I'm sure some of you guys would probably go take this thing down in about 3-4 hours, and that'll be it, job done, and then probably have it up the same day. But it's not going to happen for me. It's going to be a couple of weeks worth of work, and I have to just play it by ear, really. So yeah, that's it really. It's been very quiet down on the plot, but lots of non-gardening thing going on. Just about getting everything ready. I'm waiting for the final lot of leaves to fall from the trees, and then I'm going to have a tidy up, ready to really put the plot to bed for winter. But I've got loads of things that are blown from everywhere, plant pots and some bottle lids and bits of newspaper. But when I do it, I'm going to do it all in one go and pick up the leaves and everything else. So I'm just waiting for the final few leaves, and there's a few trees around that have still got them on, so another couple of weeks yet before I'll do a big tidy. But I think I'm ahead for the year, to be honest. I think I'm up there. Beds are covered. Got a few wildflowers to pull out, but they'll die off naturally, and more than happy for them to self-seed, so it doesn't bother me. And I've left the sunflowers up for the birds to peck at, so yeah, all good really, all good. So I'll show you this dog run that I'm getting, and then I'll talk to you about chickens. But until then, have fun, speak soon. Hello girlies, how you doing? Hi guys, hope you're alright. Yeah. Hi guys, hope you're all okay. So today is a right miserable day. Oh, my back is giving me some serious grief today. Plus it's been raining non-stop. But these are the joys of when you commit to having chickens, especially in the small run that they're in at the moment. Until I built the bigger one, clean every other day. Clean them, change their water, change their food, make sure they're okay. They look alright, a bit wet today, but we've had sideways rain today, so they've got a house to go in. They just obviously chose not to go in it. But this is one of the things you have to think about when you're having chickens. If you're a solar powered gardener and you only go out when it's sunny, just don't have any form of livestock, because you know you'll soon get fed up of coming down on rainy days. I mean, today I would consider a bad day. I mean, my back's playing up, the weather's bad, but I've still had to come down. You know, it's not fair on them to be left for longer than 2 days. I mean, if it hadn't have been raining today, I'd have let them out for a run, but all they're going to do is get more muddy, so it's not really much point. But they've got plenty of straw, plenty of hay in there now. Yeah, they've had some kale, had some layers pellets, some oyster shell, fresh water. They look happy as Larry, to be fair, clucking away, rooting around. So it's all good, really. But yeah, I just thought I'd show you today, because obviously, like I said, when you commit to having livestock, you know, you can't stop for any reason. Sun, rain, hail, snow, tornado, whatever, you've got to be prepared to look after them. And to be perfectly honest, yeah, it was a bit of a drag leaving the house, thinking, oh, it's raining, I've got to get my boots on, it's cold, this, that and the other. But now I'm down here, apart from my back, which is killing me, I've actually enjoyed the last 5 minutes. Now, it's been nice seeing the girls. They've given me some eggs to take home, and they look happy enough. So yeah, mustn't grumble, really. All right. All right, come on. This is the girl that is a bit of a rogue. Excuse me. Yeah, she's a bit of a rogue. She likes to go and explore. Yeah, you do, don't you? How you doing, girlie? Any fun? It's nice to let them out for a bit while I'm down here. Just got to keep an eye on them because I'm not completely fenced in. But they seem to do okay. Oh yeah. Hi guys, how you all doing? So yeah, just a quick chat about chickens, really. They're a really nice animal, really nice pet, I suppose. To me, they've got a purpose. That they're here to help weed the plot, and they're to help help weed the plot, help me with my compost, and obviously give me some eggs. But a lot of people do see them just as pets, and will happily keep them even if they don't lay eggs. They might keep breeds that don't lay that many eggs, but although I do like my chickens, I don't think I would be as keen to come down as regularly if they were just for show. That's just my own personal opinion. For me, I get my enjoyment out of, don't get me wrong, I come down and talk to them, and yeah, talk to the chickens. They're getting quite tame actually. They follow me around when I say come on, and they follow me. So but yeah, if I wasn't getting eggs from them and they weren't doing some weeding for me, then they'd be more of a chore than a luxury. So yeah, but so all I wanted to say was that don't think keeping chickens is easy. You need to have a fairly decent setup. You've seen my setup now. My setup is a little bit too small. It would probably do 2 bantams, maybe 2 bantams and a cockerel. Okay, if you had the chicken tractor system where you were moving them around every other day. But if you're keeping them in one place, which these have been for the time being, simply because I've got it fox proof and I want to keep it that way till I move them to a bigger pen, if you've got them in one place, that run would be too small, unless you had it at home on your garden where you could go out in the daytime, let them have a roam, and then lock them back up at night. But it's probably too small for an allotment. So I'm getting something that's bigger, and then I'll be able to leave them down here, and I'll probably be able to come down probably every third day. I wouldn't, I mean, four days at a push, but I wouldn't like to leave it any longer than that. It's not fair on them. If their water was to go over, if it was to spoil, you know, God forbid if one of them was to die and, you know, the body was left in there with the others, obviously they'd peck it and eat it, and you don't want that to happen. So, you know, you want to be keeping a close eye on them. People that only visit their plot once a week, I'd say chickens probably weren't for you. Depends how big of a run you had. I mean, if you could designate, like, you know, 4 metre by 6 metre area that was completely fox proof and with several ad-lib feeders and waterers, then probably maybe, yeah, you'd be alright, you get away with it, and there's enough space that if something did go wrong, like one of them to die, the others could stay away from it. But if you're looking at a small hen house, you need to be going down there regularly. It's also good to get into the idea of you're not just coming down to feed them and water them. So it's not a case of, oh, after work I'll just pop to the allotment, throw some corn in there, squirt the hose pipe in the water thing, job done. You need to be coming down to the allotment, and then when you're down here, you're going to feed them, you're going to water them, but at the same time you're going to clean out their feed trough, tray, hopper, whatever you've got. You want to clean out their water, you know, again, dispenser, and also you want to clean out the nest box. You want to clean out the droppings from where they roost at night, and you probably want to have a quick rake around the run. I use my little Dutch hoe to scrape any of the droppings, and I put that straight in the compost bin. I've just got some tyres stacked up for now, which will do quite nicely. It'll rot down, and I use that next autumn. So yeah, you want to it's about getting into that habit of, you know, feeding, watering, cleaning, and, you know, general good husbandry, really. The other thing I'd say is that you need to be keeping an eye on your chickens for, you know, pests and diseases and other things like that. And it's not difficult. I don't think it's like some you know. Ooh, that was a spider just dropped on me. So you want to be keeping an eye for like pests and diseases. Probably one of the most common ones is red mite. Doesn't matter how clean you are going to eventually come across red mite. I've only ever had a few on my chickens in the past. You get a special powder, and it's about, you clean out the run, you spray the powder in the nooks and crannies, because the red mites hide during the day, and at night they come out to eat, basically. And when I mean eat, they walk over the chickens and they suck their blood like fleas. So and I've actually seen a hen house, wasn't mine, that was full of red mite, and it's not a pretty sight, and it's quite grim. It's like a horror film. The walls were crawling with these things. Poor chickens. And the thing is, what happens is the chickens, obviously you imagine having your blood taken every night when you went to sleep. The chickens eventually become anemic, and you know, they become poorly and they die. And obviously it's not nice for them. So that's another thing you've got to do. So it's not so bad in the winter, because obviously the temperatures go colder, and obviously insects, parasites are a little bit less. But, you know, especially in the spring and summer, it's something that you got to get into the habit of. Clean out the chickens, and then, well, I used to do it probably once a week. Clean out the chickens, and either use Jay's fluid, and I'd squirt it into all the nooks and crannies of the run, and then I would squirt some wet red mite powder in places, and mix it in with the sawdust and stuff, just to get rid of them, and then put some around the chickens. So they're not the easiest of. Well, they are. They're an easy pet to keep, but they're not as easy, let's say, as a rabbit. Then again, I think most people, we get rabbits, we stick them in a hutch, we feed them, we water them, we clean them out, and that's it, kind of thing. Chickens are a little bit more work than a rabbit. You know, they're quite an intelligent. Well, they are not quite. They are an intelligent animal. That you soon discover their personalities. My chickens have already learnt to follow me around the allotment when I call them. and I'm not down here. Obviously, I'm only down here for a couple hours at a time. If you had them in your garden and you were seeing them every day for 3, 4, 5 hours, then obviously they'd train even better. Mine know that the red bucket is food, so whenever they see me with a red bucket, oh, they go mental. That was it. It could be a completely different red bucket, but the red bucket is food, and that's it. Yeah, so you can't neglect them mentally either. They do need some kind of interaction, just to get used to you. I mean, mine already let me pick them up. They're quite happy. There's one that's a bit skittish, but she still lets me pick her up. There's one that's a proper little explorer. She almost escaped today, actually. She went for a wander up the allotments, and I found her 2 plots up. Thankfully, she wasn't doing anything other than walking around. But that's another thing that you need to consider is if you do decide that when you're down here you're going to let your chickens have a roam, make sure that your allotment is fenced in, because I wouldn't like it if someone came and scratched up my seedlings, and it's not fair for your chickens to escape and scratch up somebody else's seedlings either. So yeah, think about that. But yeah, keep sorry, I'm completely not with it today. So but yeah, they are very intelligent, so you want like things for them to do. I hang greens like cabbage and kale up for them to peck at. I've got some outdoor perches for them. I've got a little hopper with some little fizzy pop soda for you Americans out there. I've got a fizzy pop bottle hopper, which is I've set up for treats and stuff, so they can, if they peck the bottle and they give it enough force, then some treats will fall out, which they seem to quite like. It's just things about keeping them interested, basically. Stop them getting into bad habits, because a bored chicken will get into bad habits, and it will start eating eggs and cracking eggs, and even pecking each other, pulling out feathers and stuff. So you've got to keep an eye on those sort of things, because I suppose it's like anything. If you were in prison with nothing to do, you'd get bored and probably get some bad habits as well. Also, bear in mind that there's a lot of expense to start with when you first have chickens. I mean, I've obviously been really lucky, because I will have now had 2 coops for free, but you're probably looking for a decent coop and some chicken wire and some stakes to make a bit of a run and make it fox-proof. If you're going to buy from a shop, you're probably looking at between £200 and £300 for for something that's half decent. You're probably looking more on the £500 mark for something that's really good, like a big enclosure with a hen house, something that's like 4 meters by 4 meters. You can buy these. They're almost like a polytunnel frame with mesh around them. They're about £200, and a coop to go inside would be probably another £250. Plus, then you've got to think of things like you need feed bins, because unless you want to be lugging a sack of layers pellets down to your plot every time, you want somewhere safe on the plot where you keep all your food. Obviously, that needs to be rat proof and mouse proof, so the best thing for that is like a big old fashioned dustbin, like the Top Cat kind of things, those stainless steel ones. They're really good, and they've got quite a heavy lid, which means that not much is going to pull the lid off. I mean, a fox might kick it over, but I don't think a fox has any interest of getting into chicken feed. But it's more rats and squirrels and things you've got to worry about, or probably badgers if you're in an area where there's badgers. Mr. Robbins, come say hello. Yeah, if you're in an area where there's badgers, they'll obviously would knock a feed bin over. So you've got to think about things like that. So that's probably another £20 there. And if you're going to feed them layers, pellets and corn, you want 2 of those bins. One for layers, one for corn, so that's £40. As for your drinking dispensers, they're not cheap. They're probably a tenner. Food hoppers, again, probably about 20 quid. So it soon mounts up, and then, to be perfectly honest, if you're buying new from a shop, you're probably not going to break even for your first year of having chickens, because you know you're probably looking year 2, year 3 when your hen house is paid for through the cost of eggs. So and to be honest, you don't have to buy things new. You can make them yourself, and if you're fairly decent with a hammer and screwdriver, and you know, you probably could build all of this for a hell of a lot cheaper. So yeah, you don't have to buy things that are brand new. Obviously, if you're decent with a hammer and a screwdriver, then you can obviously build these things yourself. And in the past, I have built chicken runs, and they've been good and they've been fine, and they've cost me, you know, 50 quid, and that's all well and good. But if you're a bit of a neat freak like some of you are, then you know, you're probably best buying off the shelf than you are making it, unless you're, you know, a really good carpenter, because they need to be made in a certain way. Well, I think so, because you need to have a roost area, you need to have a nest box area, and you need to have a run. It's not just as easy as just popping up a shed and saying, there we go, chickens, crack on, because you'll find them roosting over your eggs, and then you just have eggs covered in poo. And so it's a bit more complicated to make than just a square box with mesh around the side. But I'm sure if some of you out there will know exactly what you're doing, and you probably think I'm over complicating things, but I am literally not DIY minded at all. I cobble things together and they work, and that's about it really. I never really had much interest in CDT when I was in school. No, and woodwork bored me to tears. So yeah. Some could say I'm not even a real man, because but I can hammer. I mean, I very rarely use screws for anything. I just seem to hammer things together, and if they stick, they stick. If they don't, they don't. That's it really. So the next thing you've got to think of is location, and this again comes down to husbandry and everything else. Chickens can be smelly. Any animal can be smelly. Chickens more so, because chickens have a lot of ammonia in their waste. They don't wee like other animals, so their wee and their poo all comes out at the same time in the same dropping. So and that's the reason why chicken manure can't be used on the garden straight away, because it's high in ammonia, so it needs to be left for 12 months for it to rot down, and the ammonia to I suppose it rots, compost out, evaporates, goes into the soil, whatever. So so chickens can, if they're not looked after, be smelly. And so if you've got your chickens on the plot and you decide that you don't want to come down and look after them that much, or you want to leave them a week, which, you know, I said it's okay now every now and again, but I wouldn't do it all the time, you're going to have a situation where your chicken pen's going to smell. And it will smell, and every chicken person will eventually have a smelly coop. Sometimes you just can't. Sometimes it just, all of a sudden, you'll have a really hot summer. The chickens have been particularly pooey that week or whatever, and you'll come and you'll think to yourself, God, this smells a bit. And that's normally the time, obviously, when you have a big, massive deep clean, get the J's fluid down, everything like that. So it comes down to placement. For instance, behind me on my plot, there's a house, and the people who live in the house, I actually know them from being a kid, because the lane where my allotments are is where I was brought up, and they're really nice people. So I wouldn't put my chicken coop close to their window there, because I don't think that would be fair. I mean, nothing would stop me from doing it, as there's no stipulations in the allotment saying I can't put it there, but I just think that's would be poor form, basically. So I will be putting my chicken run either that way of the plot or towards the greenhouse. So you might have a plot that might be completely surrounded by houses, or you might have a plot where the only space you've got is right next to your next door neighbour's shed, in which case, do you want to pee off your neighbour when on that 1-2 days a year when the chickens are particularly a bit pongy, that they're sitting in their shed having a cup of tea and all they can smell is your chicken poo? So it's worth thinking about. It's worth planning when you get chickens, taking all these things into consideration, because like I said, they will smell. You know, there will be a day when you think, oh crikey, these smell a bit. There's just no getting around it. But so you've got to be on top and be prepared to clean. Also, what I would say is, if you're having chickens and you're doing what they call the deep litter approach, which is where you put lots of litter in the bottom of the run and it composts itself, and it can actually work quite well and help. What's the word? Help the poo biodegrade, and it reduces the smell and stuff. If you're doing that approach, make sure you're able to get a good supply of litter. Straw. Wood chippings are okay, but they're not great for deep litter. And make sure you've got means of getting them, because I mean, a bale of hay is not small. For instance, my Toyota Avensis, it's a saloon. I can't get a bale of hay in my car; it won't fit. And if you're doing the deep litter, you're probably going to use half a bale of hay, at a time, and then you're going to top it up with the other half over the period of so months. So, and if you're in the centre of London, buying little bales of hay from Asda and stuff, it's going to work out stupidly expensive. So just think about things like that. Don't rush out, get chickens, set them up, and think, oh, I need to get a bale of hay every month or every 3 months. How am I going to do it? A farmer's not going to deliver one bale of hay. They're like £3. It's not worth his time and effort. You're going to have to go and pick that up. And the same with chicken food. Chicken food, for the best price, you're going to have to buy it in a 25 kg sack. If you haven't got a car, are you quite happy to lug 25 kg of chicken food from the farmer's market or wherever down to your plot? I mean, you might look a bit daft on the tube, lugging this over your shoulder. I mean, some places will deliver it, like from the internet, but then you're paying a premium for what is a £7 bag of chicken food. You're then paying like 14 quid for, so it doubles the price. And then you've got to factor in, are my chickens pets or are my chickens egg producers? Because I know it's nice to have, well, my point of view, it's nice to have chickens and all that, but I don't want to be spending more more keeping chickens than it costs me to go to the shop and get eggs. So I know at the moment, I mean, I think I worked out that I broke even about a month ago, but that's because I had my run for free. So my chicken food, my hay, my grit, and everything else, which will see me up till the end of the year. It means that as of about 2 weeks ago, I'm into free eggs. So every egg I take home now is a bonus. And when you think organic free range eggs are like £2 a box, although mine aren't free range at the moment, they're like semi-free range because they come out while I'm here. They're still absolutely gorgeous eggs, and and I'm saving £2 a go at the moment. Every time I come down, I'm getting at least 6 to take away. So yeah, a lot of things to consider. I probably rambled on far too much, and you're probably thinking, God, the guy's boring as hell. But I just wanted to put it in there. So yeah, just before you rush out and get chickens because you think they look nice, just think about everything you've got to do, because at the end of the day, it's not fair on the chickens if you neglect them. I've seen on plots before. I mean, I wasn't on this plot at the time, but there were people. As soon as everyone figured out I had chickens, the first thing they said, "Oh, don't leave them like the other people did." And I was like, "What other people?" And then I've heard all the stories from about five different plot holders now that about 5 years ago there was a couple that had a plot, and they came down here with all the best ideas and the great intentions, and they dug their plot over and they put some seeds in and they built a chicken coop. And actually I've got the chicken coop here, but that's a different story. They built a chicken coop and put the chickens in it, and then they never come down again. Yes, they literally never come down again. So the people on the plot here eventually noticed that these chickens had no water, so there was people coming down and watering the chickens and this, that and the other, and then eventually obviously the chickens died, just because they were left and neglected, and no one around here really knew what to do with the chickens. And they'd called obviously various plot council and this, that and the other, and no one was really interested, and I think eventually a fox had them. So yeah, so that, you know, you don't want to do that. That's just cruel. On the subject of the chicken house, when I got down to the plot, that plot was abandoned, and there was a chicken coop. It was all rotted and horrible. There's a chicken coop, and I asked them, "Oh, what's happening with that?" And they said, "Oh, nothing." They said it's all going to the skip in a couple of months' time. So I stole it, and it's what I use as my coal frame next to the shed. So I sawed the rotten bit off, opened it up, and that's where I keep all my plants at the coal frame. So, but yeah, you know, it's something to consider. You know, you don't want to be cruel, and I'm sure it's the quickest way to get kicked off a plot. If people are coming down here and knowing that you're neglecting your chickens, or your chickens are, you know, in a bad state of affairs, you know, you're soon going to have a letter to get rid of, and rightly so, because it's, you know, it's cruelty, it's not fair, it's not nice. So I hope that's helped some of you decide. You know, don't take it lightly, whatever you do. But if you do decide to have chickens, they are great. They're amazing little creatures. They're, you know, and they've got little personalities and everything. But anyway, have a think before you jump head first in. But until then, speak soon.